Welcome to Bass Lab, New Mexico. Today I'm chilling with Bryan Abel.
Yeah.
That's right. How you doing today?
Good, man. How are you?
I'm great. We're sitting here in his kind of production studio. He's got a drum set and some basses, and we're going to talk about some music production stuff too. We were talking about that before the interview, just recording tracks at home. Kind of started for you during the pandemic.
Right. Just as a hobby, something to keep busy, and want to record my own ideas. And like a lot of people during that time, funds were kind of short, so I didn't have the means to go into recording studio. So kind of just started practicing and learning how to do it.
Yeah, that's great. And what's your DAW of choice?
Logic.
Yeah, your
Logic.
Logic.
Super easy, kind of idiot proof.
Yeah, it's a good one. I'm a Logic user too. That's great. And do you, during the pandemic, when you were doing a lot of were you doing a lot of composing too, or just more like experimenting with ideas or recording tracks for other people, or kind of all of it?
Both. So I started work on my first EP, which I ended up releasing in 2021, and then just audio production for my YouTube channel to try to make those tracks sound better, and working on a lot of solo bass stuff. But then the stuff on my EP had drums, guitar, bass, different synths and stuff like that too. So learning how to mix a different palette of sounds was pretty fun.
Yeah, let's talk more about your EP. I want to hear about that, the process of recording it and writing it and everything.
So some of the ideas on it were bass jams that I had from the time that I was young, like 14, 15. The oldest track that I have on there, I probably had written the main idea, which is the opening track. I probably wrote the idea when I was like 15, and I would just jam over it with the looper and never did anything with it until that EP came. And so most of the stuff on the EP starts from just ideas on bass, and then I end up orchestrating them, taking the melody or the chords and giving it to guitar or synths and kind of layering it that way. But typically starting from writing with just one bass and then putting it all together. Mm-hmm. And that one, Thomas Promozic played on my EP, which was really good.
Shout out to Thomas.
Definitely.
Yeah.
He's a beast.
Yeah. And a mutual friend. And we played the other night, and you came out and sat in, and it was super fun. And that was a Thomas connection too.
Yeah.
So that's great. Yeah. He just sent me some tracks for a song that I'm producing, and I'm really happy with the way they came out. They sound great. And so yeah, music production and playing live. You're also a music educator. You wear a lot of hats, and I know you're a dad and a family man, and there's only so much time in the day. You have to pick your projects and everything, and I'm really happy that you made time for us today to just hang out and talk about bass a little bit, you know.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me, for sure.
What gigs are you doing right now? I know you're focusing on your education and teaching, that is, music education.
The main gig that I've been doing for the past 7, maybe 8 years is with Zach Coffey, country artist out of Dallas. Again, that's a gig that I do with Thomas. He's playing drums, I play bass, and then Ben and Zach, they fly out from Dallas, and we do shows at the Dirty Bourbon. Was quarterly for a while, but now we're moving to maybe like a yearly or bi-yearly gig at Dirty Bourbon. We don't really rehearse. We just get the music ahead of time and kind of show up to the gig and do the thing. So I'd say that's kind of been one of the main gigs. I play with the Noms still. We haven't played in a little bit, but holding down the low end for those guys. Play with Bardo Trujillo. We talked about production. I produced his last EP, engineered it.
Shout out to Bardo.
Yeah, man. And then also I play with the Dave Matthews tribute band called Monkeys on a String, which is cool. They're out of San Antonio. It's not a regular thing, but when they do full band gigs, I started playing with those guys, which is super fun. I'm a Dave Matthews fanatic, so.
Oh, really? That's so cool. That's so cool. I got to jam with his guitar player one time. I'm not going to remember the name, but I'll...
Tim Reynolds.
Yeah, Tim. That's right. Thank you. Yeah, shout out to Tim Reynolds. That was some shit. I was really young.
And probably when he was living in Santa Fe.
It was when he was in Santa Fe, and we jammed one time, and I was really excited. I was really nervous, you know, those moments where you get a chance to jam with somebody, and you're kind of like, oh, wow.
Yeah. Oh, for sure, for sure. One of those for me was Vernon Reed. Mikey Jaramillo, he hit me up. He was playing at...
shout out to Mikey.
Yeah, he was playing at Gathering of the Nations, and it was a super last-minute thing. It was like an hour before they were playing. Hey, man, do you want to come jam with Vernon Reed? Yeah, I'll be there. And so that was one of those things, which was super cool. Just like a random, like, I should not be here right now, but here we are.
Wow, how many songs did you get to play with him?
I think it was just like two songs or something. Wow. It was some super quick, but you know, it was one of those cool things that just happenstance.
Yeah, you just never know. You never know who you're going to run into, and do you do a lot of recording bass tracks for people from home and stuff like that? And back to the music production thing, what are some of your projects that are on your table right now with the production going on?
Right now, honestly, it's just my own music currently. Not really doing projects for anybody at the moment. Not for, you know, turning work down or anything. It's just not something that's on the table right now, which is okay. Like I said, I got the family and things to keep me busy. So if the work comes, I'll do it. Otherwise, just kind of writing music, working on solo bass arrangements for my YouTube channel and kind of working on that stuff.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah. You showed me that Beatles tune yesterday. That's great. Yeah.
I showed it to you yesterday.
Yeah, you showed it to me yesterday. Yeah, that's right. So when you record your bass, what do you like to go through, like preamp wise, and what's your setup for recording bass at home? Do you mic a speaker cabinet, or do you just kind of go DI style?
Typically, I just go DI, and I won't even use the preamp on the DI. I'll just use the clean signal and straight bass, and whatever EQ or anything, I always do post production.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so like I have my Aguilar rig, but I never use it for recording. Miking bass cabs to me is just, it never gives me the sound that I want, at least not for the projects that I've done so far. I'd rather have something cleaner that I can manipulate more if I need to, just especially because typically I start with drum and bass and then add everything later. And if I mic the speaker cab, sometimes it might be a little bit harder to EQ certain things out or get it in the mix right once I layer everything else over the top, if the mix ends up being kind of dense. So I'd rather have just a super clean bass signal or even just DI signal so that I can re-record it or manipulate it if I need to. And it's easier that way, at least for me. Not opposed to miking bass cabs. I just haven't found a situation where that ended up being the more appropriate sound.
Yeah. I know, miking bass cabs, that's a vibe right there. Most of the time we've been going direct for so long. Did you happen to see that with Nathan East, where they show the making of that record that he did? He made a solo record. Maybe, oh gosh, it's been 10 years or more, but they showed him in this documentary. The engineer was like, no, let me just mic your cabinet, I'm gonna blow your mind, like, check it out. And Nathan was like, really, we need to do that? So yeah, it's kind of that kind of thing. Do you start with the drums or the bass, or do you record everything on click? How do you like to approach it?
Typically, I'll do drum and bass, or sometimes, like, if I have the main idea laid out, like I said, I'll arrange a lot on bass, and so I might record just like a scratch track of that bass arrangement, and then I'll add the drums and like what would be the actual bass part over that, and then get rid of the arranged bass part to start layering guitar or synths over that.
Yeah, so it's a process.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, I like being able to record a track as a means to an end for something else, and then maybe go back to it, maybe erase it, maybe not use it, or maybe re-record it or something.
Yeah, and I going back to my EP, one of the tracks that I did, actually, I kept the entire arranged bass part, but mixed it super low. So occasionally you'll get little parts that pop out on it, but it's kind of hidden in the mix too. So sometimes I'll leave it, just depending on how it fits with everything.
Yeah, yeah, that's cool. Yeah, when you have multiple bass tracks in a session, how do you fit them together, like in the sound spectrum?
Different basses for start, and a lot of the parts that even if I'm layering bass, typically they're designated by role. So one bass is playing the bass part, but then the other stuff I might layer over the top might be higher chord stuff, or what would be like a guitar part, maybe single note type of stuff in the higher register. So it's not just all low, deep bass parts. It's kind of filling in the holes of what a guitar player might do or what a keyboard might do.
Right.
And those. Or I just use guitar or keyboard and bypass bass altogether for some of those parts. It just depends. It's a texture thing and a tone thing. So there was a track we did on Bardo's EP, and the guitar player, our second guitar player, Andrew Anaya, he was doing like this Nile Rodgers, like a 2-note back and forth little part, and he was doing it on guitar and it sounded fine. But for that, I had, I think it was my Federa bass. I had it tuned up to tenor, so ADGC. And I said, all right, because he had it distorted and just kind of doing like a Nile Rodgers 2-note thing. And I gave him the bass and I said, let's do it on this. And sonically, it was like absolutely what that track benefited from. It wasn't bad with guitar, and it wasn't a wrong answer. It was just better sonically to do it on bass for that.
Yeah.
Had I had my baritone guitar at the time, that probably would have worked cool too. Because it's that in between. But that's sort of how tenor bass works, is almost like in that range of baritone guitar where it's like that piano-like clarity, but it doesn't sound like a guitar either. It still has body and kind of oomph.
Yeah. Yeah, I dig that, man. Yeah, when I have multiple bass tracks, I end up, because I just have my one electric bass, but I'll use like one pickup for the meat and potatoes, and then maybe like the other pickup for the lead bass sound, and maybe I'll put it through a high pass filter at some point or something like that, and just give it a little sculpting, and so one thing we talk about as musicians is I was talking with Artha Metters, shout out to Artha. We were talking about this notion of the trifecta, which is sort of like in terms of like accepting a gig or an opportunity, there's the money, there's the music, and there's the hang, And I know that you've got some little ones and you've got a precious family going on. So what's the trifecta look for you these days? What does it take to get Bryan out of the house right now? I know it's all those factors, right?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. For me, more than anything, I would say that the two I lean on the most are the hang and the music more than anything. I'm a teacher, so thankfully I don't have to rely on gigs as income. So the money's not quite as big of a factor. Just because it's like I want to play with people that I like to hang out with and like to have fun. And if we get paid on top of it, cool. If not, I'm not too worried if it's a gig I want to do. Like sometimes the City Fest gigs are always fun because you're playing in front of a bunch of people, and those don't always pay super well or whatever. But that's fine because it's a cool show. Ends up being a cool hang. And but then again, there's also the thing, if the gig pays well enough, it's like I could make that distinction, and if I want to do it. But I'd say the hang and the music are probably the more important things that I'm hanging my hat on these days.
That's great. And that's part of what you get when you make sacrifices in your life to be a music teacher and to have that. That's part of what you get is to not have it always be all about the money when you go out of the house on your bass or to the studio or to a rehearsal even or something like that, because I'll take a rehearsal even if there's no gig, if the music's cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's just depends, and so that's cool. It sounds like you're really open, and you're open to doing projects, and you're open to things coming around and stuff like that.
Yeah, and when it's the right gig or people I like playing with, like we were talking about Ron Crowder.
Shout out to Ron.
Yeah, Ron. We both play with him. And when he calls, I love to take the Ron gig. He's a great hang. It's fun music. That's a gig that I like to take whenever it comes my way. Super fun.
He rates pretty high on the trifecta, on all three.
Yeah, for sure.
And he's got great taste in musicians too, so it's always a great hang. And how cool is it to support original songwriters too?
Yeah. And that one's fun too, because you mentioned him having good taste in musicians. You never know who's going to be on the gig, so it's always kind of a surprise, but a good surprise, because you get to play with Chris Ishii and Alex Merzen and those guys, or Robert Mueller. You never know who's going to be on the gig, and so it's always super fun. Yeah,
shout out to those guys. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's awesome. And when the situation's right and you go out of the house with your bass to play a gig, do you? I know you have a few basses to choose from, and how do you make that choice? It just depends on the gig, right?
Depends on the gig. Sometimes it just depends on what I feel like playing that day.
Okay.
But for the most part, I would say it's gig dependent. I have my Sadowski 5 covers pretty much 99% of gigs if I want it to or need it to. I have a Music Man Stingray 5, which is if the gig tends to be a little more rock heavy, then I might take that just because it's a little bit more aggressive. 78 Jazz Bass, I have that. That's a pretty safe bet too. If I know the music is going to be something that maybe I'm not playing much over, that I just need to play bass, then I might take the 78 just because it's kind of safe. Right, it's a jazz bass. And
is it a 4-string?
4-string, yeah.
Oh, okay. So you switch between 4 and 5 string.
I actually prefer 4, and Arthur calls me crazy because he says I should play 6-string more than anybody else he knows because of the arrangements and stuff that I do, and I can't bond with 6-string. I've tried many times, and 6 has never done it for me. I would rather stick to a 4-string over 5, over 6. But it's the utility of the 5 that just makes sense. Like on the country gig with Zach,
sure.
I always take the Sadowski. I'll take the Music Man if I'm feeling a particular way that night. But for the most part, the Sadowski covers that gig for pretty much everything. And then I have my fretless 5 as well, which I'll take, like with the Noms. I have certain tracks that I wrote to be on fretless specifically. So just depends on the gig. But for the most part, Sadowski is kind of the answer for most sub gigs.
Yeah, and it sounds like maybe one of the more versatile instruments in the arsenal. That's great. That's great. Can we take a look at it?
Yeah, let me grab it.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Look at that. Oh, thank you. Okay. So basically, it's a jazz bass.
Yeah, make it this for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's just a jazz 5.
Wow, look at that beautiful color and everything.
Truthfully, I never would have gone with orange. It just happened to be the color of the bass. So I had a Dingwall 5-string for a while, and it was cool, but it was hard to find strings for because of the extended scale length. So I only play Elixir strings, or at least I have for the last 20 years because my hands are real acidic, and so I go through strings pretty quick.
I kind of have that same.
Yeah, so I always stick with Elixir, and
Wow.
it was hard to find extended length strings for it, especially at the time because during COVID and the pandemic era, supplies were kind of low. So Elixir really cut back on how much variation they had in their lineup, and they kind of just had like the bread and butter, your 45 to 105, 45, 125, and that was about it. And so I decided to get rid of the Dingwall, and I found somebody on Talkbase that had this for trade, and we ended up working out a deal, and
No way.
I traded the Dingwall for this, and
No
I had
way.
always wanted a Sadowski.
Wow.
I was a huge Metallica fan growing up, and seeing Jason Newsted on a Sadowski, it's like I want to have one of those one day.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And more than that, it just a great bass. Like recording wise, I almost do nothing EQ wise when I record with this. It just kind of sits where it needs to without. And that's always the thing. If you listen to interviews with Roger Sadowski, he'll kind of say his idea was you plug in and that's about all you need. And it's the same live too. I don't ever do much EQ live, even though it has the bass and treble preamp. It's pretty much just plug in and go, and it sounds good, which is what a good jazz bass should do, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So you have active electronics, but you're not. It doesn't sound like you're constantly tweaking things, and it sounds like you're just kind of you got your basic tone, and it's in the hands.
Kind of set it and forget it for the most part. Yeah, like with this, I'll usually boost the bass control, and that's it, and then I leave it. But I'm not like changing between songs. I'm not changing settings all the time. Just a bass boost to kind of fatten it up, and it's about where it stays.
Yeah.
It's where it lives.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, a little bit of bass boost goes a long way.
Yeah, this bass is nice. It's super light.
Yeah, very balanced too. Yeah, that's wonderful. What a great bass. Yeah. Yeah, I can't really say anything about it other than that it's just really nice, and like I said, really balanced. And so you like the Elixir strings? That's cool. That's cool. Yeah, yeah. Do you pursue any kind of endorsements or anything like that? Have you tried?
I was an endorsing artist for a bit with Elixir.
Oh, really?
Yeah. But then they restructured a couple years ago, and they they decided I was not going to be an artist, which is fine.
Right.
Because you buy one set of strings and they'll last, they last me a year out of one set. So it's like, it's not that big of a deal.
Right.
But they're great. I'm actually really excited though. Diodario just came out with their excess strings, which are coated. And I tried those on guitar and I really liked those. They feel less coated than Elixir, because that's what people don't like about Elixir, right? Is sometimes the coating is very slick, is how people describe it. Which I get, but the Diodarios, they feel more natural, and so they just released the strings this year. So like they had never made a true coated string for bass. They have the guitar strings for a while. So I actually am excited to try those.
That's cool. And that technology is changing so fast and getting better. And it's interesting. When I was younger, I used to take my strings off and boil them. And I did that for years. And then I got into using denatured alcohol. Have you heard of that?
Yeah.
Soaking the strings in denatured alcohol. And nowadays it's kind of funny. I sort of let that go, I'm just sort of like, I don't know if, I think your taste changes as you go through life and you get older, you like different things. And I used to just like really need to have all those overtones there and all of the brightness. Not that you have a trebly sound, but it's like all those overtones are there and the harmonics, and it's like all of that content is there, as opposed to a dead string, which is really just the fundamental and a little less going on in the higher frequencies. But I think as I've gotten older, I've just kind of accepted the way it sounds, and so it's interesting. But I did take my strings off and soak them in denatured alcohol about 4 months ago, and I was happy with the result.
Yeah, it works. I mean, even in a pinch, like to boil your strings. When I was a teenager, I was probably boiling my strings once a week at least, because
Right?
because like you talk about, like your maturity level is different, and I wanted all the zing and the pop and
Yeah.
everything, and now it's like not that big a deal.
Not
I
as
just
big a
don't care
deal.
as much. If
Not as
anything,
big a deal.
actually, what I love about the Sadowski is it has active bass and treble,
Yeah.
but it has passive tone roll off as well. So
Oh,
even in
interesting.
active mode, you can roll off extra treble. So you could have the treble boosted, and it gives you like a real nice focus. But if you use the passive tone control, it smooths everything out, so it like stays
Wow.
laser focused, but without giving you that haircut kind of treble.
Interesting. That's cool.
So that's actually one of the coolest things that I like about this bass. And even, I don't run it like that all the time, but maybe like for a solo where you want to pop out,
Uh-huh.
I'll boost the treble, but then you kind of keep the tone low just so that it doesn't, hit you in the face so hard.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. Any other members of your bass family that we could take a look at?
Of course.
Yeah. So tell me the story of this bass. How did you get it?
I bought it at Musical Round.
Musical Round.
Yeah.
Love that place.
I had no intent of buying a vintage bass.
Yeah.
In fact, I had a 78 jazz bass for a little bit, and I ended up, a 78 P bass, and I ended up trading it to Jabez. You probably know
Oh
Jabez.
yeah, shout out to
Yeah.
Jabez. Yeah.
And he had the Music Man Stingray 5, which I now have, and I figured he'd get a lot more mileage out of the P bass because of what he does with his bands and kind of the things he's into. And I was just ready to move on from that bass. Not that P bass, if I could go only have one bass, it would probably be a P bass. Like if I had to strip everything down, I could survive with just a P bass, and I'd pick it over a jazz bass. But at the time I was just ready to move on. So we traded. And so getting back to this, like I had no intent of buying a vintage bass. It just turned out that it was at Music Around. Went and played it. Kind of loved it initially, and then slept on it and woke up the next day and I was like, no, I need to go back and get it. There's just something about this one. So
It's in great condition.
great condition, and it's light for a 78, right?
For
So most of those
78.
late 70s are 12, 13 pounds. This one is just over 9. So even though 9 is maybe still considered heavy, this is light for the era.
Got the hip shot on the low E here.
Yeah, I put that on.
That's
It
great.
didn't come with that. It doesn't have the stock pickups. It has some old school DiMargios,
Okay.
which I think these are probably 80s. So they're pretty old. And then doesn't have the original bridge, has a Shaler roller bridge, which is high
Nice.
mass anyway. So it's
Nice.
kind of,
I was noticing that bridge. It's really nice bridge.
yeah, it does like the badass thing, right?
It looks like a badass.
Yeah, kind of the high mass, heavy, sustained type of thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Cool. Cool. I bet this records really well.
Yeah, it's not that I ever want to be Marcus, but if you want it to be, it's instantly that kind of tone. But when I think about a jazz bass, like I think every bass player kind of has their quintessential jazz bass, whether it be 60s or any other era. For me, when I think of the quintessential jazz bass, it's a 70s block inlays, ash body, maple neck. Like in my mind, when I think jazz bass, this is what I imagine. Some people opt more for the 60s with the dual stack knobs, and that's not a wrong answer either. But for me, it's 70s.
Yeah. That's wonderful. Do you name your instruments like some people do?
No, I've always thought that I would, and just never get around to it.
I know that's how I am too. Sometimes people are like, "Oh, what's your bass's name?" I'm like, just the bass.
The 78.
It's the 78. Yeah, cool.
Yeah, and so like I'll take this. Like I played with Chris Drake up a couple weeks ago.
Shout out to Chris Drake.
And Chris is kind of a traditional kind of guy.
Sure.
So this was a good bet for that.
It's a great call for that. For blues, absolutely. Absolutely. That's wonderful.
And again, I didn't think, because on that gig, it's like, I don't know how far I need to stretch. So playing the 4 kind of keeps you in a smaller box too, right?
Interesting. Yeah. Yeah. That's interesting.
Kind of safe for me. Play it safe that way.
Yeah.
And just comfort too. Like, I don't know what it is. I'm just always more comfortable on a 4-string.
Yeah. Yeah. I tend to think about bass like a 4-string player, but then the extra B's there for when you decide to go there,
Yeah. Well, and that's sort of why I put the hip shot on there too, because it's kind of sneaky. If I need to go any lower, I could get that low D.
Yeah.
Because anything lower than the D is not necessary, even though you could get there. You could sometimes hit your low C or even low B. But I'd say the most valuable in that range is probably the E flat or the D if you need it. So the D tuner kind of covers that for me if I need it.
Excellent. Very good. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, here we go. Some serious technology here. Oh my goodness, is this what I think it is?
It's a Federa Monarch 4.
Whoa. Wow. That is really beautiful. What a great bass. And you have the strap locks on your bass. That's cool.
Yeah.
That's a good way to go. Wow, this is really quite a bass. Oh, this one's got a hip shot on it too.
Sure does. Yep.
Wow, it just comes like that.
This one did. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, it's got a ramp.
Yep.
That's interesting. How do you feel about that?
I take it off sometimes. Sometimes I want to play with it. Just depends.
Yeah.
I tend to have a really light touch when I play anyway. So I would say, the idea of the ramp is to kind of contain you if you tend to play heavy-handed. So more than anything, it's just a comfort thing. It's like most bass players tend to play over the pickup. And so it kind of gives you that feel in just a wider area more than anything, because I don't really play heavy. So I don't benefit from it kind of giving that natural compression. Right.
Yeah, yeah. Do you ever do like the slap bass technique at all, or just when someone asks you to, or do you tend to enjoy that style?
I do that a lot. Yeah.
Oh, okay, sure. Cool.
I'd say less and less these days, though.
So you would maybe slap up here, though. You wouldn't really slap back there.
No, yeah. Kind of more over the fretboard.
Yeah,
more than anything.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
And this is their standard series, which is no custom options, right? They say this is the bass, you get it as it is. It's a cheaper price because you aren't customizing everything, but it's still, it's every bit of Federa as anything custom.
Wow.
And I've probably owned this bass longer than any other bass now. And this is, if I had to sell everything else in my collection right now, this is what I would keep. Right. Just done a lot of gigs, a lot of play on this. And most of the time you think of a Federa and they're pretty pristine because people baby them, but I got all these dings and dents in them. And I've really played this bass. It's not just a closet queen. It's like, no, I bought it to play. I'm going to take it to play.
Yeah.
And so this has had a lot of playtime for sure. When I was playing with Hillary, this was the main bass that I used for that gig.
Okay. Shout out to Hillary Smith.
But mostly because this was the only bass that I really had at the time, other than my fretless. So for a while it was kind of this in the fretless, and then my P bass. But for that gig, they kind of did a lot of different blues and funk and maybe even some rock stuff. So it was more versatile. And it's definitely my number one. I don't play it as much now with some of the other stuff, but like I said, if push came to shove, this is the bass I would keep over anything else that I have right now. And also too, prices for everything have gotten so crazy that I'd probably not really be able to get another Federa. I kind of lucked out when I got this one, and the price that I paid for it is definitely lower than what they go for now. So it's like I probably wouldn't be able to buy another one anymore. It's a cool bass for sure.
Great. Yeah. And it's really been there for you too. And it's a lot of options here with the active. Can you go passive with it too?
Yep, you could go passive. So it's volume, and then this, like the Sadowski, has a active passive tone control too.
Oh.
So it has that same thing. There's a blend knob, bass, treble, and mid control. So it's just a 3-band, and then active passive switch. And then this changes single coils, and I think it's 60 spacing for the single coils or dual coil. And I would say probably 90% of the time I keep it in single coil mode. I almost never use the dual coils.
Wow.
Single coils just sound great.
What a great bass.
Yeah, but you have the option. Just tends to not be a thing.
Yeah. Thank you for showing us.
Yeah.
What a beautiful bass. 24 frets and
24 frets, and
it's all business.
sounds great too.
Yeah.
It sounds more jazz than some jazz basses that I've played.
Really?
Yeah, oddly enough.
Yeah.
Then we have this.
Cool.
So that's a Jeff Gould. If you don't know Jeff Gould, he was the founder of Modulus.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and after he left Modulus, he ended up founding G. Gould basses.
Okay.
So it's got a graphite neck, which is super cool.
Graphite neck. Yeah, it's like black and stuff. Yeah. Okay. Wow.
Yeah, but it's just like layered graphite that they
Layered
put together.
graphite. Wow. What a trip. Yeah.
And so I first saw these at there's a shop in Phoenix called the Bass Place. My buddy Quentin and I, we went to Phoenix to go to a free Victor Wooten clinic that he was doing at Sam Ash. So we went there on a whim and happened to stop at the Bass Place, and they carry Gould basses. And I played one with this finish. He calls it the Rainbow Trout finish, and it was like the prettiest finish I'd ever seen on a bass. And graphite has a particular sound too, and so I had Jones for one for years and years, and then finally in 2023 I ordered this one. This is probably the only bass that I've ever ordered brand new and like actually custom did anything. Actually, the first was my PhD fretless, which I could show you in a minute, but I wanted it specifically in this finish. And so this is one of the few basses I've ever actually ordered new and bought new. Otherwise, most of the stuff I find used.
Wow, this is a machine.
It's a lot of bass.
2 batteries?
2 batteries, 18 volt.
18 volt.
Only bass and treble control on the preamp, so it's not super crazy. But volume, blend, treble, and bass. But this is not like, this gig is not something I would take to like Chris Drake up, where it's blues centered. It's just not the right bass for that. I like this more for solo bass arranging, or rock stuff is really good too, because it has a really strong mid range, so it's pretty good as a rock bass. Playing with the pick is really cool too on this bass.
That's cool. That's cool that you don't frown on playing with a pick. It's a cool sound once in a while. It depends on the song, right?
Yeah, it's another tool.
It's another sound, right? Yeah. Very cool.
And the graphite never moves, which is nice. I've set it.
Wow.
I've had it since 2023, and I have adjusted the neck once, and that was when I got it to get the action where
for the strings
like
that you had and stuff.
And I've never touched it since.
Wow, what a machine.
Yeah, and I tried to put a detuner on here, but if you look at the headstock in the back, where the neck curves, there just wasn't enough room to actually put the detuner on. So
yeah,
this one I have to go old school and actually turn it.
Yeah,
like some kind of schmuck, you know.
Cool. What a great bass. Thank you for showing us this. Yeah. And You mentioned a PhD fretless, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Shout out to Parazod
Yes.
and the PhD basses. I noticed that all your basses have their own strap.
Yes.
That is really neat.
Because before I had done too many gigs where I'd show up and I forget a strap.
Because it was a different bass.
Because it was a different bass
than you had played last time you were playing.
Yeah, well, and they all have different weights too, so it's like I don't need the super thick strap for like the Gould. The Gould is super light. Mm-hmm. The Sadowski's super light, so I don't necessarily need like the super thick 4-inch straps for those basses. Mm-hmm. But more than anything, it's just so I don't ever forget a strap. I just know I could grab whatever bag I have, and it's good to go. But this is my PhD 5, which Perry made specifically for me. So this is like the only true custom bass I have. The Gould, the only thing that was custom about that was the finish. But this one, I picked the scale length, so it's a 33-inch scale. I went with that because having the slightly shorter scale gives you a little bit more robust low end. And since I was going fretless, where you kind of have a lot of sustained notes or things that you might be holding, I thought that would be kind of beneficial. I got to pick out all the woods. I went to her shop and, hand selected the woods that I wanted for the top and body and the neck, which is ebony.
I like the lines there.
Yeah.
That's cool.
The neck, I also had her make a slightly thicker neck than her typical profile. At the time, I was into slightly thicker necks. I still like them. Like Warwick basses will always have a special place. And if you've ever played a Warwick, it's literally just holding a baseball bat. And so I wanted a slightly thicker neck. Went with the Hipshot hardware, and this thing is beautiful. I actually just got it back. It originally had Bartolini pickups and a Bartolini preamp, but I ended up swapping the preamp for a Glock and Clang preamp. After I got the Dingwall, that's what that had, was a Glock and Clang. And it was a really cool preamp, so I got one for this. But it ended up being really noisy. And I was just also ready to try something different from the Barts. And so I got some EMG pickups and then went back to a Bart preamp from the Glock and Clang. And so I just got this back from Perry. And
wow,
this one's super fun too, because this is the only bass that she ever painted or stained, I guess, is probably how she did it. And she was hesitant, she was resistant, because she's like, I have all these beautiful woods and you want to cover it up with a color. Why would you do that? I said, please make it blue. And so she hand stained it, and she said it was a very frustrating process to get it the color that she wanted, to get it to stay how she wanted. But when she posted picture of this, she's had other people order specifically this blue. And there's another guy that ordered almost identical bass to mine, except I think his was a semi-hollow. But it was a fretless 5, this same blue. And then she actually started shipping them off to other painters to have them finish them. So this is the only one that she actually hand finished with the stain, which is kind of fun.
Wow, that's a cool story.
Fun process, but she's like, never again. I'll never do it again. She'll send them, but she won't hand stain them.
Wow.
Just super fun. But I don't know if you play much fretless, but I would say it's very much a part of my voice as a bass player. So like on my EP, most of the solos or melodies that I did were on fretless. So we were talking about like how to get different tones or differentiate bass parts. Well, fretless is one of those big parts, because no matter what, its tone is going to stand out on its own above anything else. And in any original project that I'm in, you'll hear fretless somewhere in there, whether it's Noms or Bardo Trujillo. I'll always find a spot to add the fretless, not for the sake of doing it, but more because it's the right thing for anything, or it's the thing that'll elevate any particular song, right? It's like that little bit of special tone that a fretless gives.
I describe it as vowels. It's like the fretless sound is like gives you all the vowels, like the.
Or it's like it's the closest you could get to emulating like a real horn, a trombone. I had done a track for Bardo's first EP, and we were recording at Santa Fe Center when Doug was still there. And after we recorded, he's like, my ears are like messing with me because it sounds like a trombone, but it's fretless bass, which is super cool. When I played with Jade Mask, a lot of the stuff I did on there was fretless. Like there would be some gigs where I'd take just the fretless bass and would cover everything I need. And that's kind of why I like the 5 too, on the fretless, because it's just wider range. Sometimes I'll tune this tenor, so I'll have it A to C as opposed to B to G. And I write a lot with this. A lot of my solo arrangements I end up doing on fretless bass too. Just different voice, something different. It's an electric bass, but it's also not an electric bass.
Yeah.
It's kind of its own instrument. At least if you're playing it right.
Yeah, it's true. It's its own voice, you know? Absolutely. So in your experience being a gigging musician, what are some of your favorite rooms that you like to play? Like what,
yeah. So first and foremost, I'd say probably my favorite room in New Mexico is the Lenzik. I've played there a few times, with the New Mexico Gay Men's Chorus. I know you've done that gig a fair amount of time.
Shout out to the New Mexico Gay Men's Chorus. But thanks for what you do.
Playing at the Lenzik is just a special thing.
It's wonderful there.
Yeah, and so that's definitely one of my favorite rooms. I love to play Marble downtown. That stage is always fun when they're doing live music. It's been a minute since I've played there, but that was always a fun room to play. Launchpad can be cool. Like it's kind of a drag getting to Launchpad downtown Central, and I don't like to play downtown much anymore. But the shows are usually pretty fun there.
I like the stage there.
Yeah, so do I. It's like very, very intimate with the audience too. Like even if you're playing a rock show and kind of really going ham, you're always super close to the audience. So I feel like the Launchpad is pretty fun.
Yeah, and I like how the stage is kind of like higher up. It always feels really exciting. Like, oh wow, we're like on the stage.
yeah, no, for sure. And I like a lot of outdoor stages, you know, like when they do Summerfest or some of the city events. Those are always fun. And I mean, I don't know. I guess I don't think too much outside of like the Lenzik is.
Yeah.
If I get a chance to play there, I'm going to take that chance.
That's world class. And what about the Outpost? Have you played there much?
I haven't really played at the Outpost since I was a teenager. They used to do do you remember they would do the Rouse the House is what they call it? I don't know if they still do that, but it was basically a teen performance night where, you know, high schoolers could come play. And I used to do solo shows there. I would sing and play bass and try to be a songwriter, and I would do those, or sometimes even just instrumental solo bass shows. But I haven't really played there since I was a teenager. But that's a great room to play too.
It's a great room. Yeah. Wow, what a cool program that must have been. What was your experience growing up playing music? Like, how did you get started in music? Have you always been a musician, or did you discover music at a certain point in your childhood, or were your parents musicians or anything like that?
No, nobody in my family. It was pretty much just I got into Metallica in 7th grade and wanted to play. And one of my mom's friends, they had an old bass in a closet, and you know, like any kid, I wanted to play guitar because guitar is like the cool thing when you listen to rock music, right?
Sure.
But they had an old bass, and they said, well, you could take that if you want it. And that sort of started my bass journey. It was just like, okay, well, I got a bass now, so I guess I'm going to learn how to play bass. And so I started there and just kind of took off. Like when I was a kid, I wanted to be an animator more than anything. I wanted to make cartoons for a living, and I was really into drawing and art. And then I discovered music and all that there was never looking back.
Wow, that's so cool. Yeah. So it started with the bass, huh?
It did, yeah, purely by accident. And then, but it sort of worked out because as a teenager, all I cared about was Metallica from 7th grade to about 10th grade. And it worked out because Cliff Burton, I mean, that dude is, you know, he's a beast of a bass player. So it was cool to play bass when you were playing Cliff Burton stuff, right? And the guitar was still cool, but it was like, no, Cliff Burton, he's pretty awesome, so I get to be like him. And then in 10th grade, I discovered Victor Wooten, and then that set me off, slingshotted me, you know, across the universe. And it was like yeah, I don't care about Metallica anymore. I'm just going to go this other route, and got into solo bass players and Victor Wooten, and went down the rabbit hole of Stanley Clarke and Marcus Miller and Les Claypool, and learned to play way too flashy for a long time. And yeah, and here we are 20 years later.
Here we are. Yeah.
25 years later.
Yeah. You know, I keep wanting to say that it's kind of a shame how they did Jason Newsted on And Justice for All. I'm just going to say that it's kind of the elephant in the room when we talk about Metallica and Jason. And I don't understand why they didn't just like mix the bass in that record. You know what I'm saying?
They were just jerks. I mean, they talk about it and they say that they were mourning Cliff and just were bitter and vengeful and whatever else. But I agree. And truthfully, Jason is my favorite Metallica bass player. And even if that's blasphemy over Cliff or Robert who really has put in more miles than anybody else, there was just something about the way Jason played and fit in that band that he was always my favorite bass player for Metallica.
That's cool. That's cool. Yeah. Yeah.
And they're all great, though. I mean, you know, they've never had a bad bass player.
No. I mean, you know, what Robert Trujillo's doing for the band now is just great, you know. And yeah, you know, Metallica had a real influence on me too, for sure.
Really?
When I was young. And that was definitely part of the musical landscape when we were like teenagers and stuff. And it was just around, and it was like that was kind of what we had, you know. It's sort of growing up in New Mexico it's a little bit Wild West, like in terms of arts and culture. Like I feel like it's a little bit of a hit and miss, and you know, just kind of growing up being exposed to what you're exposed to, you know. I mean, and when you think about those times, you think about the record industry was so much more prominent back then, and I wouldn't know how to really describe the music industry so much right now, although it seems like most of my friends and most of the people that I follow are kind of independent artists.
And I'd say that's more than anything kind of the way it has to be now, because there's just so much, and the idea of making it mainstream today is like you probably have a better chance of winning the lottery anymore. And there's so much music out there. Like Arthur and I have this conversation often when we talk about writing and recording music, and it's like there's so much out there. One, nobody's probably ever going to hear your music in like the grand scheme of things, right? Other than the people kind of in your circle. But that kind of gives you a certain freedom in the sense of like you're not writing to please anybody else. You don't have to write to be commercially viable. You just get to write the things that you want to write. And there, you know, there's freedom in that, I think.
Yeah, I think so too. And it's sort of, you know, maybe the whole focus on maybe we'll get a record deal and we'll get signed that musicians sort of had as the goal back in the day. Maybe that was not the most artistically true thing we could have done. You know, because I think I like what you're saying, which is like just create, just write music, and whether it's going to impress the right person to get you the right something, you just have to write your music and put it out.
Yeah, and there's something to be said about people who are truly musicians versus people who kind of just like noodle or do it as a hobby. But the guys who are really in it, that whether you or I never take another gig again, we're not going to stop playing. We're not going to stop playing music. We're not going to stop writing music. It's something intrinsic that we just have to do, right? And people who are not musicians don't necessarily understand. Like, my wife will sometimes ask, she'll say, well, what are you practicing for? You don't have any gigs coming up. Practicing to get better. I mean, and not that she's ever questioning, but she's just sometimes curious, like what I'm working toward.
Right. What are you preparing for?
Yeah, and I'm preparing for tomorrow for a better version of who I am today, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of the goal.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, we have to believe in our potential as humans to improve and get better on our instruments. And it's a life's work, playing a string, playing an instrument. It's a journey, you know?
One that doesn't end, that's for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. It doesn't end.
I mean, even Victor Wooten now, he has, that his focal dystonia has gotten really, really bad. And so if you see him play now, a lot of times he'll play with just one finger. I don't know if you've seen recent videos or like when Bela Fleck came to the Lenzik a couple years ago. But that hasn't stopped him. He's still at it, and that's like a real admirable thing that even with, something that would stop a lot of people from being able to do the thing. It's like, no, there's still a way, still going to find a way to make it work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And music is healing, and it's primal, You know what I think about a lot is, do you know Ted Gioia? He's a writer.
Can't say I do know.
He's a music critic and a writer, and he pointed out that the time it takes for people to enter a trance state is maybe around 10 minutes, and I'm paraphrasing hugely, but music has the power to put us in a trance, and if it takes 10 minutes to get that trance going, and we're writing songs that are 3, 4, 5 minutes, where in our culture are we able to experience that, getting into that trance? Maybe people playing live and just getting into the groove. And I don't know if there's this hard rule that at 10 minutes, we enter a trance state, but I feel like music, especially music that has sort of a mantra quality. And what we do as bass players is we're musical mantra experts.
Yeah, no, for sure. It's funny you talk about the trance thing and music being healing. It's a funny story, but I was playing with Jade Mask. We were playing at Marble Heights, the tap room up there. It's a pretty small stage, right? And I was sick with the flu, but I didn't know it. I just know that I felt really bad. But I went to the gig, and I told the guys, I'm like, hey, I have to sit down on my amp. Like, I'm just not feeling well, but I'm going to play the gig. And we were playing one of the tunes that we had. It was a pretty long jam. And I just remember sitting there, and I fell asleep playing, like legitimately fell asleep. I woke up and I came to, and I guess I had stayed playing the whole time. And I had asked my bandmates, I'm like, hey, sorry, did I mess up? And they're like, what are you talking about? I'm like, I fell asleep. Like, I was out because I just felt so bad, but apparently I didn't even miss a note. I don't know how long I was out for. I just know that I had dozed off in the middle of that gig, in the middle of that song, and never missed a beat, which is kind of a weird happenstance.
That's an incredible story. Wow. Yeah. Sometimes I feel like we can play really well if we're really tired or really out of it. You think about those super late night recording sessions and stuff like that, which doesn't seem like is maybe as common around here. But you hear stories of people doing like all-nighter recording sessions, and you think, I bet that was pretty cool, to play in the middle of the night, because it brings out a different side of you, I think.
Yeah, it's like, why do your best ideas happen at 3:30 in the morning?
Right. That's true. That's true. Oh, man.
And it's just sort of like there's a certain point playing too where it's like everything opens and all the doors are unlocked. And you've probably had this too, like where I hate to play 1 hour sets. Like a 1 hour set is absolutely the worst because or sometimes it could be fun, but generally speaking, it's like at the hour mark tends to be like where everyone really starts to open up and it starts to like really become a thing, and then you're done. And I don't know if you've experienced that, but for me, it always tends to be like when you have those super short 45 to an hour sets, is like that's when everybody starts to really kind of open up and gets fun.
Yeah, and I think you're right. And I think that a lot of times musicians shoot themselves in the foot by taking too many breaks, like if it's a 2-hour gig, like I would rather just play the whole time and just let the energy build the whole time. Yeah, because it's 2 hours, I mean, if it's a 3-hour gig, okay, maybe take a break, maybe not.
It just depends on how it's going, but you're definitely right. There's something about just like keeping the gears going that creates a different energy sometimes.
Yeah, creates a different energy, or keeps the energy going. Where we've all been there, where the night's going pretty good and the band takes a break and half the people go home, and then it's just doesn't feel the same.
Yeah.
Where they were all on the dance floor 5 minutes ago, you know what I mean? And it's like, I feel like musicians sometimes have this like built-in, oh, we got to take a break. We've been playing for, whatever, you know what I mean? And I think it just depends,
Well, and it's like we talked earlier about the hang, right? And a lot of times if you're on one of those gigs where everybody's just there for the same purpose, then it's not such a big thing to have to take those breaks, right? Like there's nothing worse than being on a gig with somebody who's very much like, we've played for 45 minutes. We need to stop. It's break time now. It's like, yeah, but like everybody's having fun. We're up here having fun, and we got to, like, that's just, kind of a buzzkill sometimes.
It can be.
And like, so I told you I play guitar with David Cordova with No Chaser, and
shout out to David Cordova.
And some of those gigs, he'll just go, and he's like, if you got to get off to go use the bathroom, go use the bathroom. We'll keep going. Just come back and hop in. And we've done that, and we've done 3-hour shows where it's just we start and we just go, and sometimes those are super fun, right?
Sometimes those are super fun, and the tip jar probably looks a little better at the end of the night when you don't take a break.
Sure,
yeah. Wow. Well, gosh, thank you so much for your time, and thanks for inviting us. I mean, me into your house. Us, actually, yeah, absolutely.
You brought your bass.
Yeah.
There's more than one.
Yeah. So, thank you so much for your time, Bryan.
Thank you for having me.
It's great to hang out with you today, and we'll see you down the road. Bye.